competition. We've already covered the snatch. Today we're going to cover the jerk. So hopefully now we're going to have the opportunity to start slowly building up your programming and your technique to be able to compete and do well as you can in May. So that's the whole focus and the goal behind this, okay? So we're going to talk to you not only about the form today, we're going to talk a little bit more about programming and how to slowly build up your numbers and sets so you can reach your goal. And we'll talk about that today and do some examples of how that works, okay? Because even though the snatch and the jerk are kind of trained a little bit differently in the sense of it, we'll cover how that works.
We've been
a little better.
Yeah. Post the workshop, we basically just kept it to warm-ups,
yeah,
like snatching and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we've just been hitting the jerk more, getting ready for this month and stuff. So, yeah. We last Sunday, these two, you right? You were here last Sunday. No, Kristen, Jess, and Katie. We all attempted a 10-minute set. The girls were the only ones who made a full 10 minutes and stuff like that. So we really didn't. Did we even count reps? Did we?
Okay.
Some of us counted reps. Other of us, you know, yeah. I said let's just attempt a 10-minute set, see what it feels like.
Tighten up, and then relax. Let the air out. Tighten up, chest and shoulder. Short little breath. Tighten up, tighten up, tighten up, and then relax. Tight. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax.
Oh, keep going.
Now, yeah, just keep slowly going down, down, down. Good. How'd that feel?
Good.
Yeah, well, he's a good liar. Good. So that is, go ahead, I'll let you. So for the upper back, that's probably, for the guys, you got to have 2. So with the women, because you're doing one hand, or guys when you have to do it one hand, I think the biggest problem is getting too canted over when you actually jerk. Canted over with a kettlebell and you're trying to jerk with your body all canted. So you kind of try to want to stay as square as you can. So you are going to want to pull that down maybe a little closer to your sternum and have more of that weight in here than out here. This is over her shoulder, over her hips, over her foot. It's lean, her arm is canted a little bit forward. If her arm was perfectly straight up and down, then of course the weight is behind her. So extra stretching, it's a good stretch, but of course obviously very fatiguing. And then of course the opposite, if the kettlebell drifts too far forward, my hands here, but if it drifts too far forward, of course what gets overworked? The shoulder muscle, right? So what you have to do, and Megan will do this, is just slowly work back and forth just a little bit and find where you find like the tipping point. You'll find a tipping point where all of a sudden this kicks in, so you move back a little bit, and then same thing with moving up here to where it tightens up too much there. So you find that tipping point, and then you find a place of equilibrium. So again, you are going to find out what works best for you. A little bit farther forward, a little bit farther back, and just play with that up here and play with that angle. So obviously it comes a little forward. All of a sudden you just feel this tighten up. And of course it starts to drift back. Underside starts to really tighten up. And then Megan's just finding out, balancing a little bit forward, a little bit back. What is her position of coming? That your elbow stays in front and it only comes up equal with your body. So you're not going to get this binding, and especially when your elbow starts pointing out to the side, you can really end up squeezing the bursa, really doing some, it's really tight on your shoulders, okay? So that makes sense? Okay. Stay flat. So it's dip, and then one big drive, and then it's up. And so the dip and drive, and you're exploding off what? Rib stage. Okay. Hopefully you can get it even lower down to your hip. Boom, you're exploding even off there. Dip, and then your arm comes up. So the dip and the drive will get you, everybody freeze right about here with their hand just a little bit over their head. So here's the key. You got to get that to here. Okay, here is 90. Everybody see that angle? See the arm is approximately 90 degrees and the fist is about forehead level? That's not high enough. Push press, the leg portion has to be beyond 90. Okay, so you can't end it here, because if you end it here, your triceps have a long way to go to press that out. What you want to do is when you dip and drive, your legs get it to just above your head. And the arm has to be above 90. And then finally the tricep kicks in and does that last bit. So as you dip, drive it up with your legs are straight, the power has been transferred, and now the kettlebell is this high, the handle is here, and now the triceps can finish that off. Rotate, remember, as it comes up.
You start warming up with like just a hand.
Dip, drive, right about there.
Get it, and make sure, partner, as your hand is up there, don't place it in front of their body.
Good.
Where it's
Okay, and then down.
Right.
Make sure it's over the top where we want it. So they continue.
But let it, just tap it and come right back down. Dip, drive. Dip, drive. Dip, drive. No, not too fast. It's okay. You go this over like.
Yeah.
If it goes too fast, it'll start bouncing.
Oh.
That's the starting point. You got to have the hips forward, legs straight, a little bit of tension in your glutes to help you pull forward. Okay. Now, dip, drive, and the hand has to be over the head. Get the hand over the head, arm past 90, legs are straight. Now, the second dip happens, the hand goes up and the butt goes down at the same time. And stay there for a second. Okay? Now the arms should be straight. Arms have to be straight. Straighten those arms up, and then you stand up. Dip, drive, dip, stand. Don't go too fast, just like I'm saying for this one. Dip, drive, dip, stand. Dip, drive, dip, stand. Okay, get in that position again. Dip, drive, dip, stand. 3, 2, 1. Dip, drive, dip, freeze. Freeze in that dip position. Keep your feet flat. Shallow breathing. And then stand. Stand. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring it down. So rack position for 10 seconds. Lock that leg. Squeeze, hips come forward. 2, 1. Dip, drive. Dip, hold. Small breathing. And then stand. Okay, let's just bring it down. Good. Okay, that makes sense on that? So, again, the thing you want to avoid with that drill is pausing at the bottom. So this drill is more to learn where the bottom position is on that second dip. Okay, boom, so that when you hit it, you know right squat depth to go and have that locked out. And build up a little bit of that muscle memory in your low back, in your hips and knees, so you know that right angle to hold it, and then lock out and stand up. And the bells start to break apart here, then you have to use a lot of shoulder to then pull them back in. So if your path is either outward like this, or sometimes you see guys do a U, where you dip, they separate apart, and then they pull up like this. So it's like, that takes a lot of excess energy out of your shoulders. What you can is you dip, drive, they're going to be connected, and then they break apart. So as they come up, I'll go slow-mo. Dip, they drive up together, and then they break apart and land right in the right position. Straight up. And then have them come out. So the path is up at least to around head level, and then they will drift right into position. So when you're doing it with one, focus on that initial surge being straight up, and then as you lock out, they will drift out slightly. But make sure that path is more straight. Instead of, if you dip and drive, and it starts to explode outside. So, in a sense, it's going to go right in front of this eye. And then it's going to drift out. See that difference? Besides, then this, where it comes around. And then, feel the difference between when it goes outside your eye. Just do a rep wrong. Sometimes by doing a rep wrong.
I think that's what I've been doing.
Yeah.
That makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah. So that when it drifts out, boom, that's a lot of wasted energy here. When it comes straight up in front of that eye, so let's go slow-mo. I'll give you a drive. Oh, that's coming out. See, right in front of the eye. Dip right in front of the eye, and then it drifts out. Boom. See what I mean? Comes down. Yeah. Yeah, because if you start to get motion out here, then you have to have motion in here to then pull it back in. Because you're going to end up here. So much better. Yeah, good. You need to learn somehow or other way to lock them in. And so let's